everybody to the Backroom Crew podcast. And tonight we're going to talk about a little opposite of what we talked about last week. We're going to talk about games that we hate. Because there's a lot of video games that either suck or just could have been made better. So, let the rage flow.
Seed, my friend. Okay, it's a seed.
I can't rage on command, thank you very much. I do know one genre that really, I hate to use a statement like this, but grind my gears. But that is modern military shooter. I do not like modern military shooters. Maybe it's because I grew up with Doom and Quake and the like, so I'm used to being able to take a hit and giving back just as nastily in return. But these are, and I know that a lot of people like them because of this, they're really fast, really twitchy. You don't actually have time to line up a shot unless you're a sniper. And if you're a sniper, you're usually just kind of sitting in place for a very, very long time. I don't like the weapons. I don't like the art style. I don't like anything about it. There are a few notable exceptions. Metal Gear Acid. I like me some Metal Gear Acid. But then again, I also like RPGs, and Metal Gear Acid has a lot of card mechanics, so that's its probably saving grace.
But America.
And I like Alpha Protocol.
But America.
Alpha Protocol was fascinating.
I like Alpha, but see, I like
It was
Alpha.
a bit catchy. Like it had moments where you're just like, did they not notice this?
Well, it's Obsidian's curse where they're constantly being forced to push stuff out before it's ready. Like, if you give Obsidian time to actually do a good job, they can do an excellent job. Just like a Pillars of Eternity. Everybody's busy shitting out their ass because that game is so amazing, apparently.
Well, see, my thing is, I just don't like saturation of the market to a way that it just like, hey, we're going to pump out a new one every year and not really change anything with it.
Well,
it's become like a franchise
that every year thing honestly is their biggest flaw. If they cut it back and give them like 2 years in between each project, you know, they'd be able to release some amazing stuff.
And innovate.
Yeah. They'd be able to change it instead of going, okay, well, if we reskin this and add a few new features, everybody will be fucking fanatic.
Sports games, because of that aforementioned feature. It's the same... No. It's the same game every year with minor gameplay tweaks and roster updates. If you updated a game from 10 years ago with a new roster, it'd be just as playable as a game that came out last week.
Well, they actually do change it a little bit. I think with like FIFA maybe. Yeah, it's FIFA. It's World Cup.
Notable exceptions are the Street series, which actually go out of their way to make it interesting and entertaining.
Oh yeah, Streets like that, yeah.
Yeah, because Street is just wacky. Games are supposed to be kind of out there. If everything's all serious and realistic, you might as well just go join the military.
Remember Techno game?
Dude, Mutant League.
Now, much like him, my first one on my list is kind of part of a genre as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the games where you have to pay to win. Fucking hate that. It's like, I can understand if you're going to make your game, you know, with some content that you can purchase and have fun with. And, you know, have a source of income. But when you make it so that the only way to win is to pay them, that's when you lose. Like, I don't think they realize it, but that is a number one way to lose your market. But, I mean, for starters, like, let's take a game like, I know this is a bad example because of how much everybody loves it, but Candy Crush.
Oh, you want a good example? You want a good example? I can give you a good example.
All right.
Look up the mobile version of Dungeon Keeper.
Oh, no. I sat down and played that for a little bit the other day. No. What is it? You get like through like 5 levels and then it's like, hey, you want to move on to the next one? Buy this. You can access the next area.
No, did you ever hit the point where I believe there's video online of somebody playing and it got to a point where it was like 48 hours for the imps to mine out a 4x4 square?
Yeah.
Unless you bought in-game money and then you spent like 120 gems and then they just do it like normal. And that is per square. That is not efficiency per map. That is just per square.
Yeah, and that was also another thing, like a lot of like defender games where you have to make your own little kingdom and then go out and fight people. It's like, okay, well, you upgrade this. Like, there was this one, I forget what it was called, but it ended up getting shut down because reasons. But essentially, the game started off where, okay, everything took like 5 minutes. That's reasonable, like a minute or 2 to 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But it started getting really unreasonable because like everything had, like their maximum level, I think, was like 30 for a building. And as you leveled up the building, it started off, it was okay. The first upgrade was 1 minute, then 5 minutes, then 12 minutes, then 30 minutes, then 2 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, 1 week.
I think I know what you're talking about. I have downloaded a couple of games like that before, and yeah, they get annoying after a while because it's like you can't do anything in them.
But once you set up those things, it's like, okay, well, I have to wait 72 hours to even play this game again.
It's like, there goes 3-day wait.
Or how about this one? Do you remember when Korean MMOs were getting really, really popular?
Yeah.
Because that kind of, it's not so much the same thing, but something similar is what killed Heroes of the Three Kingdoms.
Oh.
Where you could go into the in-game cash shop and buy power. Like, you could buy more, like, obscenely powerful items in the cash shop. And then you could take these obscenely powerful items into the inner kingdom clan battles.
Mm-hmm.
So now that means that the kingdom that had the most cash shop users would sweep the field because their weapons would do 10 times the damage that anybody else's gear could do.
Right.
And there was no way to effectively defend. There's no way to strategize around it. They just had more raw power at their disposal.
And that was another thing I absolutely hated. And especially in the MMO area, it's like, once you get to the point where, like, I can accept a cash shop for things like cosmetics, maybe like a cool pet or something. But when you have to, in order to get around, in order to actually be able to win, you have to buy these items just to proceed. That's when it becomes a problem for me. It's like, I should not have to pay just to win. Because to me, it's like, if I'm going to pay you once, why am I going to keep paying you unless it's something I want?
Yeah. Well, remember, most of them are free. They're called free to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. I can name like 5 right now, really successful games that have in-game shops, and most of it's just cosmetics, pets, and mounts. And they make massive amounts of money. A great one.
Riot Industries League of Legends.
League of Legends. And League of Legends has another ability where as you play, you earn in-game cash that you can translate to the same amount as cash to buy something. But you have to like work for it. And I can accept that. Because it's giving me a reason to try. Because that means I can at least have a chance to do the same thing that people that are paying with actual cash do, but I have to work for it. Yeah. I can accept that.
I mean, Smite also has a similar system where you can, work up to gain the faith to buy the individual characters. But on top of that, if you don't feel like doing that and you just want all of them, they also have an alternative system set up where you can pay, I think it's like $30, and you get everything. It's like buying a full release. All the new gods will be free. All the current gods in the roster are completely at your disposal for a flat fee of $30.
So basically what they're going to try to do for the Xbox version?
I don't know.
Well, they'll probably keep all the 3 systems because the Xbox can do all 3 systems. Because you can buy individual gods piecemeal using cash. You can earn the favor to buy the god up yourself. Or if they should probably allow this because come on, it's more money that way, short term. Is you can pay the $30 to get everything all at once, which is what they did with Killer Instinct, where you could in fact buy individual fighters, or you could buy the entire set.
And then another example of an online game that does what I was talking about is Perfect World International. It's just mounts, cosmetics, and pets.
Well, they've learned because remember, Heroes of the Three Kingdoms was Perfect World. They've learned their lesson because that game crashed hard when everybody figured out the only way to get by was to buy cash app items. That's the reason why you don't hear about as many KMMOs coming out. It's like because when they let their economy get crushed that's when the game starts to fail, because everything and most of these games are based around economy. That's the reason why Rose Online was stopped doing so well.
Yeah, because they started doing all that. If you buy like all this stuff, you could basically have unlimited power and no one can win.
And Rose was fun.
Rose was fun.
Well, here's the thing. Y'all are mainly discussing, like, you started off with genres. It's like individual games, though. Like, something that's like...
Hyperdimension Neptunia. Holy fuck, that first game was awful. Anything by Idea Factory is a pile of garbage.
I see.
Like,
if intense hatred for Idea Factory.
What
if they dilute the Idea Factory down with maybe somebody who has a better handle on how much mechanics you need in a game to make it work decently, but not over mechanize the entire thing so the game is 90% mechanics, 10% story, and you're stuck repeating yourself over and over and over and over.
What was the game about?
The Hyperdimension Neptunia was a hypothetical war between game consoles.
It gets better in the later series, but in the early one it was terrible.
No, like, it was so bad. Like, you had to go and you had to manually punch in button combinations. And then, because, and this is the reason why I hate Idea Factories, so they give you really, really flashy supers. They didn't grade the supers at all. Like, the supers are really hyper flashy. And then the thing is still alive at the end. I'm like, you just wasted 30 seconds of my time without fucking animation to do 50 damage. No. No, you shouldn't be able to pull off a fire 4 if you're only doing fire 1 damage.
Now, if I remember correctly, there was this
It's the same thing with the Chaos Wars series, too.
Yeah.
Every one of the Chaos Wars games I have tried, except for the weird kind of move things around and then they bump into each other and have a fight. That was horrible. I spent $30. And that's the reason why I don't like buying things digitally, especially on console, because for the price... There's too many times where I felt I've gotten screwed. The only time that I really didn't feel like I've gotten screwed making an online digital purchase is one with Orashika, which I just paid for just a couple weeks ago. That's amazing. And 2 with Two Worlds 2, because I think I paid $30. I got the base game, the expansion, and the multiplayer stuff, and all the patches in the package. So, like, I've had, I think, more than 30 hours of fun with that, which means I'm paying less than $1 an hour for how much I'm enjoying that game. Yeah. Totally worth it. Compared to Argus Wars Zero, I believe it's like 0.
Okay, Argus Wars 0 had an amazing concept, had a great idea, had really cool stuff that you could work with, but
as soon as you left the intro, it fell flat on its fucking face, and then it got dragged along the ground for 30 hours.
Exactly. For example, in the first area it's like 10 little sectors you have to go through to try and get to the first boss. And as you go to each sector, each fight is like 5 to 40 minutes long. I wish I was joking, but I'm not. 5 to 40 minutes long for a low area fight, and you get 7 experience. The first boss requires you to be a minimum of level 10. It takes you to get from level 1 to level 2, 100 experience. Alright, 7 experience. Now, you just leveled up to level 2. You're now getting 5 experience. It now takes almost twice as much to get to level 3. So now it went from, I can handle this, it's going to get reasonable as we progress on, and we can actually get to this and it's going to work. But no, even going to the next areas, they throw more enemies at you that are really strong, hit hard, can wipe out your party, and barely give you any experience in return for it. So the investment you're putting into these fights, you are not getting back to level up. You are literally grinding the whole way through.
So wait, were they just doing that just to make it, to so-called make the game harder? Because that just...
Well, it's part of the system, because they also have item crafting and gear crafting, but that in of itself is a crapshoot, because unless you know the recipes to make the items, your actual item shops will never get upgraded for you to buy these items.
Wow.
So that means that if you don't pay attention to your gear, you're not going to find them on animals. You're not going to find your gear in the field. You find components in the field, and then you have to kind of guess to see which ones make what. And then on top of that, you also have to upgrade those items with the items that you would use to create better equipment in the first place. So there's no incentive to upgrade the items you currently have because you also need those items to make new ones.
I'm gonna tell you guys the truth. There's not that many games that I know that I played that I've actually hated. Probably the only games that it was one game I returned and one game that I played through and I was just utterly disappointed in. The game I was disappointed in was Red Ninja, I think Code of Honor, the PS2.
Never even heard of
it. It looked so good. Like, it was about it was about a ninja girl named Kurenai, and she was, it looked like it was going to be a cool game, you know, she like stuff around sneakily or whatever. Think of Ninja Gaiden for a girl, basically.
But Ninja Gaiden isn't sneaky. He's horribly offensive. You're probably thinking of like Tenchu.
Okay, then Tenchu. Pretty much sneaking around. She used her, feminine ways to con guards and everything, then get in close and kill them. You can different ways to kill the different guards and everything like that. It was just, it was a pretty cool game until it got to
the point where she ran into like 5 gay guards and tried to entice them, and just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that would have been cool. No. When it got to the end of it with the cutscenes, the different cutscenes, which were horribly animated, and the ending itself was just a cop-out. And I was just like, no, you just ruined the whole game. Like, the game had it had like kind of clunky gameplay or whatever like that, but it's like I could have got past all that. But the thing with the ending and everything like that, and then the cutscene just it being horrible, it was just like, you just wasted my time. That really just wasted my time. And then the other game was, I'm sure needs no like thorough introduction. Final Fantasy 13. I just returned that. I just returned it. Like, I played like to a certain point, and I was just like,
you had to get 16 hours in before the Final Fantasy actually started.
This is boring. It was freaking. It was like, okay, I'm not doing anything. Is this a tutorial? Is this supposed to teach me how to play? What was it doing? Absolutely nothing.
It was the exact opposite of Final Fantasy 12, which was like really, really detailed and like it was so detailed that you had to pick up certain items in a certain order in order to get the ultimate weapon.
I mean, I don't even care.
And then there was some chests you had to leave alone, or it didn't.
Yeah, or they just ended up empty, and that was some bullshit.
Yeah, it was like, I'm gonna fuck you up because you're a treasure hunter. It's like, if you grab all the treasure, congratulations, you just lost the ultimate weapon.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad I didn't finish that. I would have probably both of my previous 3.
Like there's a thing that tells you about it. It's actually
12 is actually pretty good if you can get past the Vosh. Like what is it? I never used what's his name unless I absolutely had to.
Vaughn.
I never touched Vaughn and Penella unless I absolutely had to.
I like.
It was always Vosh von Ronsenberg, Fran, and Balthier.
Oh, I can't blame you for that setup. No.
And Ash as an alternate. And that was it. Like, the other two is just like, you can just put those over there. You can stick them with Tidus. It's just...
Yeah,
Onimusha, Dawn of Dreams.
That wasn't that bad.
Really? You were the one who told me, this is horrible, never play this.
No. What I was talking about wasn't Onimusha. We talked about Onimusha in the same setting. There was this one game, I forgot the exact name of it. I have it on a disc, and it's got, like, my friends and I were sitting there playing it, and after we were done, and, like, we couldn't return it, because if we tried to return it, it was like $2 to get it, which isn't worth taking it back and wasting $5 in gas just to do it. So it's got, like, LAO and all this other stuff written all over it now. But, essentially, the story behind it was you're playing as this knight the princess gets kidnapped, and then you have to go, like, dungeon crawling to go find your princess. And as you progress, it got steadily worse. Like, I didn't think that was possible in the game, but it is.
Like gameplay?
Yeah, gameplay and story. Like, first it starts off, it's like, oh my god, this is cheesy as crap. Then as you get it going, the dialogue becomes so cheesy, it's painful. And then as you get further, not only is that now painful, the gameplay gets clunky. Like, it starts off, okay, I can get past this. Like, I got it back at the house, so when I go there, I'll text y'all the name of it so you'll know. But, I forget what it was called, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And there's only one game that I've ever truly returned, and that was this game called something the Atonement. I forget the first part of it. It's like it's some weird name. It's like Akakashi Atonement or something like that. But essentially, you're playing as a guy who was killed prematurely, and now as a spirit has to go in and possess people one by one to try and correct his past mistakes and atone for his misdeeds. And you know, it was weird. Once I got to a certain point, and I was trying to trudge on, and like the combat in it was horrible. It was like trying to copy Final Fantasy while at the same time trying to keep it horrifically simple. And like I was able to overlook that because you didn't do the combat nearly that much. But it wasn't a puzzle. It wasn't it wasn't a game where you actually really fought. You were literally going around, possessing people, solving their personal problems to gain good karma. The only time I encountered combat was when this one guy's daughter got kidnapped, and they were trying to force the family to pay them a hefty ransom to get her back, or they were going to use her and kill her.
That in itself sounds like what is it called? Oxymoron?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Possessing people to, like, better, like...
Your karma by helping them solve their problems?
Yeah. But how do you know if you're going to be able to solve their problems? What if their problem is some guy taking over their body unwillingly to them?
What if their problem is life?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't remember what I stopped on that, but I tried to look it up just to see if I could get past it, and like, it was apparently so bad there was like no walkthrough in existence for this game.
Well, damn. That's kind of horrible.
Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance.
What? Really?
The first one, I hated it.
Did you like the second one?
Never played the second one. Remember we played the EverQuest Adventures, and that was solid.
Okay.
The reason why I hated Baldur's Quest Dark Alliance is because when I was younger, I used to always run mages.
Mm-hmm.
Like, warriors in the game, rangers, no problem. The rangers had ammunition, the warriors had their swords and shields. Mages in Dark Alliance were
worthless.
Essentially. Because they couldn't actually do the thing that they're there to do for more than 5 seconds. Which is cast magic. Because in Dungeons & Dragons, mages operate off of consider mages like artillery.
Yeah.
They operate off of rounds. A mage only gets so many rounds, and then they have to stop, rest, relearn, rememorize the spells, and basically reload their stock.
Okay.
In this, they ran off of an MP system. Normally, I don't have any problem about MP systems, except that the mana cost per shot was so high, you only got so many. But then they consistently threw waves and waves and waves at you. This is unlike Neverwinter, who uses the death of the god of magic to kind of explain why magic doesn't really operate along the same rules. It's more based around the at-will system, which I appreciate. Because at-wills mean that you can still get the same attacks off at will without any particular requirements for resting. Because the problem with the D&D system is that it's basically tuned to turn-based.
Yeah.
So by making it real-time, without adhering to the turn-based mechanics, you have a very, very interesting balancing issue going on. Because, I mean, they fixed it. They had it right in Neverwinter Nights, where mages did operate off of the stock system. And they had per level, they could only cast so many spells. And after that store of spells was out, you then had to fend for yourself until you managed to rest.
But
they didn't do that in Baldur's Gate at all. It was.
I can't say much for the magic side of Baldur's Gate because
you have to remember, in order to do damage with your magic, you had to pump MP. You have to pump intelligence. There was no rule determining what increased your total mana pool. So now you're stuck with a person who can't really output damage in melee because they're tuned to magic. And if you tune your character to melee, then why the fuck are you playing a mage?
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I can't say anything to the mage side of Baldur's Gate because I was mostly playing like the rogues and the warriors. Like there was this one game that I remember playing that I wasn't like I was happy playing it for a while, but then once I hit, I think it was like level 30, it went from going to this really awesome game to this why the fuck am I torturing myself? And the first I want to say that I haven't played this game in years, but it was Fly FF. Yeah. what essentially happened is if you played you had like gambits in here that you could create. You could do all these different things to customize your skills. But if you were not playing as a mage, you might as well quit the game. Because the way a lot of these monsters worked is as you got further and further, you literally will hit a certain point where if you do not have friends to play alongside you, or you haven't met with people, or you haven't had other people to join you, in some way, shape, or form, as a melee person, and you're not like spec to be like, I'm a tank, I can take this hit, you are going to get crushed over and over and over again and never progress.
But see, that's a personal thing, because Final Fantasy XI had the same exact thing, and I adored Final Fantasy XI because of it. Because it required that after you hit a certain point, you had a team. And then it also required that everybody on that team knew what their job was, and that they worked together without being a glory-hogging dickweed.
That didn't happen in Fly FF, because even with a party, it still came down, like everybody get the experience divvied out, but it had, I don't know if they changed this or not, but back when I was playing, it was based on who did the most to the monster.
That would be the mages
and the mage could literally have a loadout, and I know this because Justin did it. And Justin was fucking broken as a mage in this game. Because he had this gambit that he created that was a string of 12 skills. And there weren't 12 different skills. It was 12 skills laid out because that's as far as he could get the bar going. And he literally had it down to a mechanic, like timed mechanic, where he'd cast this spell, recover mana, cast this spell. Okay, now I have to start the chain over. And it would literally do it to the point where he could cast this thing 2 or 3 times before he was completely out of mana. And by the time he was done with it, like, it would literally go through all the motions. 9 times out of 10, but by the time it was halfway done, he killed the monster. If it was a boss, 2 or 3 of those would kill the boss. And me, even with a similar type gambit, my gambit was not allowed to be that long because I had to be able to move. And if I didn't move, I would be effed. So my entire goal on that was only to keep the monsters away from Justin. But if I didn't have Justin with me, it was over.
And that brings up another thing. Any co-op games that you hate just because they're co-op. Because, like, they have games out, like, let's say, for instance, the game that you guys are in front of.
Destiny?
Room. Huh. Where you can do co-op.
Well, see, I actually didn't mind Destiny. Destiny was actually kind of fun.
Again, like, I don't know if I said this before, but for me, Destiny's big issue was the lack of plot. Like, there's a counter movement going on saying that Destiny does in fact have a plot, and I challenged them to show me where the plot was, because you can't justify interloading screen cutscenes as plot.
You don't need plot when you need like intermission things and stuff. And
yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's fun playing with friends and everything like that, but you know.
Like, I don't mind a game where you can play with friends when you want to. I just hate when a game says that in order for you to proceed, you have to do things like that. Like, because there are some games where people really are dicks, and unless you're part of their inner circle, they don't even want to give you the time of day. And so now you're spending 3 days waiting for somebody to help you out.
That knows how to play the game. And that's the thing. Well, think of that versus an AI. Like an AI that they set you up with to play with.
Yeah.
Well, it depends.
Like
It depends
players.
because any game is made better by playing with people.
But at the same time,
if you're rolling with your crew and you're doing amazing shit as a team, then you're gonna be having a blast because you're enjoying yourself with your friends.
However, at the same time, any game can be made bad with people. Because you'll get that game where you have a person where all they want to do is just troll everybody.
Load up any game, watch any video of Counter-Strike where the guy is just being an ass and the mission starts and then he's in the back and he just shoots everybody on his team and then he just like commits suicide.
Well, thanks.
And that literally ends the entire mission. And
It's like straight up thanks a lot.
So like that versus like that versus
It's kind of
by AI systems I mean like remember like old school 007 games or even Resident Evil 4. Remember Resident Evil 4, the AI in that, or Resident Evil 5, you know, shit.
They got better. They got better.
Yeah. Like, remember the AI that would walk around with you in that or whatever like that? Like, games like that, I don't really like where you have to, hey, we're going to put this AI with you. You have to protect them. So...
Well, I mean, you gotta look at that as, like, it's an evolution over time. Because, I mean, you have... Earlier on, like I can tell you right now, if you think that's bad, let me load up TIE Fighter and have you run an escort mission. That's brutal. You have to be on point and multitasking like a crazy man, because I did that without even using my wingman. But the AI will barely dodge, and things will be firing missiles at it like crazy, so now you have to spot incoming targets, engage them, and destroy them before they manage to engage your escort target.
And escort missions in games 9 times out of 10 suck, because the AI always somehow puts themselves in
counterpoint, Last of Us, which is
Last
nothing
of
but
Us was
an
great.
escort mission. It is a long ass escort mission.
But it was great. It was
Same
beautifully
thing.
executed.
BioShock Infinite.
BioShock Infinite
Was
never
solid.
beautifully executed.
It was solid, but that could be because the fact that
And Ico.
Elizabeth was never really in danger the entire time.
Yeah. And Ico was another good one.
A common one that I saw back when the game came out was that it was an escort quest, but it wasn't you escorting Elizabeth, it was Elizabeth escorting you.
Wasn't that one of Parallel Worlds?
No.
That's essentially what
That's essentially what it was, because Elizabeth couldn't die. And, except for that one point where she gets kidnapped. Yeah, she didn't even really engage in a fight. She just kind of like, oh hey, look at this like there's explosions everywhere. She's like, oh man, this looks really sweet. Hey, Booker. And that's what she did.
There were actually some missions where you were like running around and she would throw shit to you to help you out in the fight.
Like guns, grenades, whatever, and she's like, yeah, okay, come on, get this done. We gotta keep moving.
Because in all honesty, they didn't deem her as something that needed to be eradicated. You needed to be eradicated.
Well, I mean, it could be like still, it would have been a lot better if she actually fought back.
Yeah. Now in the Last of Us is actually kind of cool with that. Like for the first while, it was straight escort. She did not help out at all.
Yeah.
But then as the story progressed, and certain things happened, and the characters started talking, getting to know each other, and started relying on each other more, or she would occasionally help out. Like you'd find yourself in the middle. Like I had this one time where I got grabbed by these monsters that normally can kill you in one shot, and in the middle of it, she lunged up, stabbed it in the neck, and then and saved my ass.
Yeah, I seen something like that with that game, and that smart AI system is actually.
She'll run to cover. She will stay hidden. If you try to stay hidden, she'll stay hidden. Like, for example, like, we had these guys were walking in trying to scout out the area, and I'm trying to, like, avoid seeing these people and them seeing me. And she will literally walk around the object to try and stay hidden as well.
I have one that really grinds my gears. Just looking at that map reminds me of it. Skyrim's Radiant AI system. I don't like it. Mm-mm. I don't like it at all. It's not just the constant scaling. It's the fact that there are people in the game that are physically immortal. They are physically immortal. And I read a dissertation on why that is. It's because the Radiant AI, they had to make them immortal because the fact that they have random events going on and people constantly getting into fights and bandits showing up in random places and all that. If they didn't make these people immortal, what would happen is that they would get murdered. And if they got murdered before you got to them, before you got the quest, there was nobody else that could give that quest. But instead of creating like a kind of like hierarchy of people that could pass down the quest, what they instead do is just make everybody immortal. That is quest important. So what ended up happening is that you lose your immersion because let's say you want to go on a killing rampage. You know exactly who was important because after you finish murdering a town, whoever got up.
Yeah, that's lame.
Like, Morrowind didn't have that. And that's one of the reasons why I particularly enjoy Morrowind, because whatever you do, you can literally fuck your game over.
We'll go ahead, stop it there. Thanks for coming out. If you like what you saw today, like, comment, subscribe, hit the button down below, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Thank you.